everyone. Hi guys, hopefully you can hear me well. Looks like sound is working and all of that. I'll make me a little bit bigger here for you. Good morning. Sorry I'm a little late this morning. It's been a little bit crazy. Just recovering from being sick, so just bear with me. We'll jump right in and start looking at request type configurations, and we'll get this going. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, beautiful. So hopefully you can see everything on the screen. I just want to make sure your view is almost the full screen here. I'll just kind of shrink it a little bit so you got it. Almost got it. There we go. All right. So in today's session, we are going to talk about request type configuration essentials. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cassie. I am the founder of Your Solution Architects, and I help companies every day configure things like this for their environment. So I'm going to jump in and start showing you exactly what that entails. So let me move my streaming service over. All right, so I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna just start with the basics. When you come in to kind of take a view at a service desk and its request types, you first need to figure out which project you're in. So my little flyout menu is actually closed. So you're going to take a look at projects over here on the left. And if you don't see your project here, no big deal. You're actually going to kind of scroll down until you see more projects. And then you'll be able to search for the project that you are, looking for here. So I'm going to start with this kind of service desk that I have. I might do the Atlassian service desk. It might be a little bit better configured. All right, so let's take a look at that one. So in order to dive into the project settings here, you just click on the three little dots and you go to project settings. Now you must be a project admin to configure and see the settings behind the curtain in a project. So if you don't have that little cog, that's permission related, and you'll need to talk to your, Atlassian people, like your Jira admin and whoever manages access. But once you're back here, it's really kind of simply put. They've reorganized these menus so you can go right into request management, and you can see request types. In this project, I am using the categories, which we'll talk about in a minute, but there are service requests, incidents, and I don't actually have change requests, but I have some that might be unassigned. And because I have these categories activated, you're gonna see them there on the left-hand side like that. So in order to see all of the service requests, I would have to kind of click into each little area. So it looks like I don't have change requests turned on, but I do have some change requests, which we'll talk about later. So let's take a look at these service requests first. So essentially the category of the work type coincides with the features that are available for that work type, the native features. So service requests are, people are asking for new things or need something. This is about Atlassian products, this desk, and if someone were to submit a ticket to me, asking me to create something new, net new, then I would, view that as a service request there. There might be an incident where there's a bug or an access request. So incidents really imply there's like a work stoppage. And then unassigned, I have some changes. I like to track changes. So anytime something already exists and we're making a change to it, we would define the category probably as a change ticket type, okay? But I don't have that on. So if you don't see these categories, you need to come in here to features. And for the ones that you want turned on, you can turn on. You also can have problem management, which I don't have or have a need for. And I see why I don't have it. I think I don't have a premium plan on this. Oh, I might. Okay. So now when I turn change management on, I'll be able to give that category to those request types. And now I see that section here. So if you don't see these and you do want to use categories, then you want to go ahead and turn those features on. I'm not going to dive into, what each category does, but you can see that right here on the feature screen. You can learn more about the different ways you should categorize your requests that come through, okay? And what, categorizing them leverages. So we're really focused on configuring them today, and we can dive into categories another time. All right, so I'm gonna come in here and I want things to show in this change section. So we're gonna go ahead and click assign request types. So basically all these ones that say change and are unassigned belong here. So we're just gonna hit continue. We're gonna go ahead and, I don't want this email one. We're gonna remove that. There we go. Just review. Oh, this looks like it snuck into new feature. We don't want a feature request as a change. So let's go to change auto assignment. So this one needs to be categorized as well. All right. So once we have the list looking like how we want, we just hit confirm. It's telling you down here though that change tickets do better if they have these fields. It unlocks certain features that are available for change tickets, okay? So it's really important that you kind of take note of this info box. It's extremely helpful. And they also have some documentation that you can click into here and it'll let you read further about work categories, which is what we're doing. We're assigning the work category to the request type. So once you create a request type, you will have to do that. So we're kind of cleaning up the ones we already have. Now, if I wanted to create a new change type, I can just hit here, create request type. I can decide to use AI to help me, or I can create blank. All right, so let's create a test change. Beautiful. And we're gonna put it on the portal, all right? So on my portal, I have little groups, and I wanna show you what those mean. So I think they're really important when you're trying to understand configuring a service desk and configuring request types on your service desk. Okay, so to jump to your portal, the quickest way is to come in to the project channels, click portal if you're on the back end here, and just grab the link, okay? If you're on the front end, there's another way, and I'll be happy to show you that when we're kind of on the front end. So this is actually my portal. It's quite cute, right? So you come in to the Atlassian support desk, you click on the little button, and I request something new, change or remove something that's existing. Maybe we have an access issue or a problem, or we want to onboard or offboard a user, like we want to remove their access, which is pretty cool as well. So these are pretty typical needs in a service desk. These grouping of request types are literally called groups. Makes sense? Pretty easy. So when you group them together, you're saying basically which folder to show that request type in. So if we kind of go back to where we were, I guess I maybe opened down a different tab, which is totally fine. Okay, here we go. So we go back to request types and we come in here to changes and we create the change. We're just gonna create a blank one. We are selecting which one of these groups we want them to fall in. But if you don't have groups, there's nothing to select there. Let me get rid of that tab. There's nothing to select there, okay? So if you don't have a group just yet, and you don't want to kind of double back, it's fine. Just put hide from portal, okay? So I'm going to show you how to create a group really quick. Once we move past this screen. So after you select the group, you also need to say which work type it's associated to, because the request type links to a work type or an issue type, if you call it the old way. These work types are what define what backend screen is available and what backend workflow is available to be used for this request type. So you guessed it, you can have multiple request types that link to one work type. Totally fine, just know all of those work type or those request types will share the same workflow. And how I actually help my clients decide whether or not they should create a new work type and link this request type to that work type or share a work type is I ask them 2 questions, well, maybe 3. I usually ask them, is this request type the data that you need to do or action this request type? Is it very different from the other request types that use this work type? What I'm getting at is that means this back end screen for the work type will actually have a bunch of fields if we do that. And we don't want that. We want the back end screen to be as one for one as the front end portal screen, because we don't want to create confusion for our service desk people and just have like a messy configuration, right? So I like to try to keep them pretty similar if I can. So if the data that I need or the fields that I would need on this request types screen, create screen, are pretty similar to the others, then I will share the work type. So what I mean by similar is like, okay, maybe 1 or 2 different fields. Anything more than that, you should have a new work type. And you should create it and you should link it to this one. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Otherwise, the next question is the way you work on this request type inherently different? Meaning the workflow is the process of how from start to finish you get through this ticket inherently different from the other request types that are linked to it? If so, we need its own work type, because remember, the work type controls the workflow and how the workflow is configured. So we want a workflow that fits the right scenario for this request type, because we don't want to kind of be forcing a square into a circle kind of situation, okay? So are they really different? And do that. Sometimes I might even ask if there are special data that we need that come, like depending on the type of data, sifting out, you can definitely sift out by request type, but you can also sift out by work type. So what I mean by that is you can JQL and you can query by request type, just like you can for work type. But I admit that sometimes request type names are not ideal to be typing into JQL easily. Maybe they're longer and things like that. So it might not be easy to search for things that way. So I always try to put a feeler out for what kind of data do we need off of this ticket as well, if later we're going to be, collecting any data, because I want to make sure I make it as easy as possible to find that via JQL and querying. Okay, so once you decide whether you're going to share or create a new work type to link here, you're literally just going to select the work type that you want, which in this scenario is going to be the change one. We already have it created. We're going to hit add. Beautiful. Now what you're staring at right now is a request type screen. This is the screen configurations for the portal side. So when I click into one of these work types, this is a bad example because it's using a form. I'm trying to find one that's just using, I don't think I have any. I really love forms. But essentially you're going to have a simple screen, because these are all forms. You can tell because of the layout of the fields being side by side. I just really hate having my clients scroll. As much as possible, I do try to avoid that. But essentially, it's the screen that you see here. I have a linked form on top of this screen, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. So you can configure this particular work type to have whatever fields are available in your instance, which show in this left-hand panel for you to easily search. Just making sure you can see it well. Okay. So in this left-hand panel, you can just search here what you want to put in. So I'm just going to keep it really simple. I'm going to put description. We want that, to be some data to be gathered here. And maybe affected user. Do I have affected? I don't. Let's see if I have a user picker field. Let's just, I have so many fields and none of those. I just don't have a lot in this environment. All right, so let's say, you see people in group fields. I don't have very many. Let's pretend that this approvers field is a field that we want them to put like the affected users in, because what's cool about the portal screens is you can actually change the name of this field for viewing on the front. So we're going to change this field to affected user. So we want to know who is having the problem. We also want to mark this field as required. You have that here. Beautiful. And I don't like when my clients have to fill in the summary. I almost always use automation to fill in the summary with the person's name. Maybe if I have like a select field value, like their department, I might change the title or summary of the ticket to have that detail. So in order to kind of bypass the user filling it in, I will just change it to something and use a preset value. You also use this a lot if say I knew this ticket always was getting assigned to me, I could put assignee here and it could actually fill it in here rather than, creating other automation. I could embed it here in the actual request type, which is pretty cool. So once I hit save, you'll notice the hidden ones shouldn't show on the portal. So we can save the change, and then we can kind of preview it by clicking view. So as you see, I see affected user instead of, approver or something. And I see raise this request on behalf of, because I'm actually an agent in the service desk. So if you're ever wondering why this field shows, it's because the agent has permission to change the reporter, okay? So if the reporter field is editable on the edit screen and you are an agent, you are going to see this field. So I can actually raise this request on behalf of Christy. I don't think she is I don't think I have any customers in this project because it was just imported from something I have created previously. So in order to show in this box, they have to be a customer of the service desk. And in order to be an affected user, they have to be either a customer or invited to your site in some capacity, okay? So they would have to, she might show here then. Maybe not, because she's not on the desk either. But I can enter her email. Let's see if it lets me put her in. There you go. So she isn't actually on this desk, but I can add her here by using her email, which is pretty cool. And that is a permission that is set inside of the service desk itself. So I can actually go ahead and fill in this ticket. but that's okay. We have the portal open. We will just go back to our portal and take a look. So now we have it hidden from portal, so we won't actually see that ticket type. So let's actually go in and put it in a portal group, okay? So right now it's not showing. So how would we do that? That's going to actually be in these, let me get rid of this little error. That's actually going to be in the portal configuration. So portal groups are kind of hidden here in this little tab, portal groups. So I can actually take that change request that I just made and I can put it here. Let's see if I can find it. I have it hidden. Yeah, beautiful. So I could put it in there for us, which is pretty cool. Now, once it's in there, there used to be a save. I just want to make sure there's not a save. Okay, because sometimes there's a little hidden save in the corner. Now it should show in our portal. So let's see if it shows in our group now. There you go, you see it? This is a test change. We'll actually be able to come in and fill in this. See, it auto-populates your name if you're the reporter of the ticket. Otherwise, you can erase it on behalf of someone else. And I can put give it to Christy. We're gonna say Christy's the one with the problem. Cool. She has something to change. Beautiful. So now we've created the ticket, and this is what the user sees from their side, all right? Now, once you have that, configured, it's beautiful, right? But there's another way you can configure the screens. Instead of using the request type screen, you can actually use something called a form. And I have a lot of forms. This is excessive. I love forms. Don't be me. Forms are an added layer you have to configure. So for best practice, you should really just use forms sparingly. Where I tell my clients to use forms is when they need a dynamic field filled in, meaning if the answer is no, you want to show these fields, or if it's yes, you want to show a different set of fields, okay? So I have a form like that. Okay, I think it's this one. This is multiple. No, let me see. I think it's request. A new book edit, field light access. I'm just trying to see here. Here you go. This one is dynamic. So let's preview this form. This is a pretty cool form. I'll admit, I'll toot my own horn. So I use this form when I'm helping a new customer kind of walk them through how to create a new work type. So they'll, if they already have an existing project, they'll put their work type in their new project, right? And then I actually have it so they can preview the field types available inside of Jira. How cool. They can jump to the documentation here. So I have documentation links. But that all disappears if they hit no. So if they don't want to see that anymore, and they don't want to look at all the different field types, they could just hit no, which is pretty cool. Now, I also, want them to know about best practice recommendations. So if I put yes, these are literally fields from, or information from either myself, the experience, or, from Atlassian's documentations that I pulled here. So forms are a really great, easy way to kind of create a robust filling in experience. I also don't want my client to have 1,000 fields to fill in if they only need one. So if they only have one field that they need, or 2 or 3, they could select the amount, and then it only appears how many values that they need. Now, then I also ask them about auto assigning, and if they're going to auto assign, which method they're going to use, if they want to learn about auto assigning. So this form is so robust and so dynamic and very user friendly. However, look at this chaos on the back end, okay? These sections tell when and if rules. Like, this is complex, okay? If you move around one of these yes, no fields, so if I move this field to the right box instead of the left, I will actually break all of these little sections, okay? So this is what I mean by only use them if you need them. Because if you start creating robust forms just because you don't want to create multiple request types, it will eventually get so big and so unmanageable that it is just pointless. Now, let's talk about once you've decided on a form, you've created your form. So I'm not going to walk through how to create forms today, but I will in another session, I promise you. So just follow my YouTube channel and like keep an eye out. I promise to do a session just about forms because they're so fun to configure, and as you see, I really love them. But I want to get to, we've only got a minute left. I might end up going a little over. If you don't have time, it's totally fine. This is recorded on my YouTube channel. Just watch the rest of it later. But I'm going to show you how to put this form now on your request type that we've created, okay? So once you have your form, you can either come into the settings tab on your form and select the work type that it goes with, the request type that it goes with, or you can come, I think they love to make sure you've saved your forms, which is good. You can actually come into your request type that you want that on. And if you're in this screen configuring, you're just gonna click this attach form down here. And you can jump to create one from here and it's gonna open that create, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's see if I can hit create from template. You could create a form from template, or you can come in here and you can just select an existing form that you've created. So we'll just small change needed, add. What that's gonna do is it's gonna append the form, but it's gonna append it below any fields you already have configured. There is no way to rearrange this, all right? This is how it does. So if you want some fields and then you want the form, you just really need to think about the order of operations and how people's brains will process that, because this does not look pretty. This just looks like, like a mess, right? So you just want to make sure that either you move those fields to your form, or you think that, I don't know where that just took me, but okay. We'll go back. So you could all just drag these off and get rid of them altogether because maybe they're on your form. Summary field's not on my form, it seems. And then you could save the change, okay? Now it will look a lot better. You'll just have your form fields, which makes sense, and things like that. So still, I'm not in love with this form. It definitely needs some tweaking on the viewing. So that is how you link a, form to a request type. Now, I just want to show you one other thing, and then we will wrap it up for today because we're a little over. All right, so inside of the categories, these categories also define, because I kind of wanted to jump back to this conversation, these categories also define inside of the project the queues that you have. So let's take a look at this project and its queues. You'll notice we have a service request queue, an incident queue, and a change queue. This is pulling the tickets by their category, by their work category, okay? It's dynamic and it already does this for you. So if you ever jump in to one of these queues and take a look at its JQL, you will notice it doesn't even show you that it's filtering by category because it's already embedded in. So whatever you put here, you you will still only see category equals, and then it will be, you know, essentially just imagine it says work type category equals change, because it says right here that's already filtered by this task and by ticket category equals changes, okay? So whatever you add here, cool, totally fine, but it's still gonna only show you changes, all right? So that is another reason why having the categories match is really helpful, because it creates these like unique category cues, if you will. And they're not to be confused with your regular cues. You have your regular cues here. It just auto filters for you. So if you only want to view incident tickets, you can do that. You don't have to create a special queue to do that. It's built in for you. All right. With request types also, you can link knowledge base articles. So I'm just going to show you quickly how that works. I do think it is important to understand that the request type can control what knowledge base things are being shown for that request type. So let's just like put oh no, I don't have a Confluence. I don't even know. We'll just use my space for now because this one doesn't have a space. All right, so these are the request types. You can actually come in and per request type, when someone's on the portal, say what article they should see. And this is talking about labels on your articles in Confluence. So if you come to a Confluence space, hopefully it logs me in, don't be like that. Okay, I'm just gonna come to mine because I have a lot of stuff. Like, look, I have a lot. So if I want to change request. Okay, so we're just gonna add a label change to this one. Okay, close. Now if we want, I don't think I closed it. Okay. If we want all my change tickets to only show the pages with the word change labeled, we can. So this is another reason why you might decide to have a separate request type, is if you want to show a separate KBB article or how-to article on your Confluence, okay? So these are very important decisions to make when deciding how many request types you're gonna have in your environment. Also, the more you create, the more you have to manage, so just bear that in mind, okay? All right, well, I'm gonna wrap it up for today because I know we all have busy lives and there's so much going on, so I'm gonna say goodbye here. Let's see. And I hope that from this you've learned a little bit about what to avoid and how to use the categories and all of that. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them, as a comment on this video, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I would be happy to help answer quick questions for you. Okay? Well, take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.